I'm a literature professor, so you know what I do. I spend my time in libraries, reading and writing. And you're right, that's part of what I do. I read Shakespearean dramas and sapphic lyrics. I write about authors like Maya Angelou, Alison Bechdel, and Alexis Wright. But I also do more. I work with frontline trauma nurses to fast process grief, and with artificial intelligence experts to develop innovations like gray box algorithms, and with disabled artists to open minds and spark creativity, and with business schools like Wharton and Chicago Booth to make Fortune 50s more curious, and with Hollywood studios to invent new stories, and with environmental scientists to combat climate change and reduce the use of plastics, and with medical schools and Silicon Valley startups to reduce burnouts in workers and doctors, and with U.S. special operations to make smarter decisions in chaotic, low-data environments. I do this because I'm a new kind of literature professor, invented here at Ohio State. It started 40 years ago when Ohio State dared to hire a young researcher with a rogue approach to literature. The researcher was Jim Phelan, now a distinguished university professor. His rogue approach was narrative theory. Instead of simply analyzing literature's words, narrative theory also analyzed literature's stories, unriddling the mysteries of character, plotting, and world building. 15 years ago, Ohio State then doubled down on its rogue hire by funding Jim Phelan to recruit the world's foremost specialists in narrative theory, including Amy Schumann, Brian McHale, Robin Warhol, Frederick Aldama, and Jared Gardner. Those faculty launched a cross-disciplinary initiative known as Project Narrative, which became the leading academic think tank for the study of stories, renowned across the globe as the place you came to study narratives. Literary narratives, political narratives, technological narratives, cultural narratives, business narratives, personal narratives, any and all narratives. Then, 8 years ago, Ohio State flew me in from the West Coast, where after getting my PhD at Yale, I'd gone on to teach at USC and Stanford. I brought research methods from psychology and neuroscience. And when those methods were combined with Project Narrative's insights, they birthed a new field known as story science. Story science explores how narratives work in our brain to shape our emotions, shift our behaviors, and sharpen our thinking. It uncovers specific story nuts and bolts that can increase our creativity, our resilience, our empathy, our courage, and our collective problem solving. Let's say that you'd like a little more positive energy in your life, but you don't want to fall prey to magical thinking. In 17th century Paris, a group of female Solonists devised a fairy tale mechanism that boosts healthy optimism. It works by tapping into our brain's parasympathetic system to ward off the negative thought spiral of catastrophizing. And that's just one of dozens of brain-changing story devices that have been identified in our lab at Project Narrative. Because almost anything the human brain can do, stories can help it do better. And story science allows us to pinpoint the specific narrative inventions that convey those mental benefits. Want to alleviate anxiety? There's a style of storytelling pioneered in 1925 by Virginia Woolf. Want to bounce back faster from setbacks? There's a revolutionary kind of narrator you can find in the 1872 novel Middlemarch by George Eliot. Want to train your brain to think more scientifically? There's an original plot device you can learn from an 1841 short story by Edgar Allan Poe. Want more love in your life? There's a poetic innovation you can discover in a 9th century Arabic song by Ulayya bint al-Mahdi. Story science's findings have been published across academic fields, from Harvard Business Review to the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences. It's been supported by major neuroscientists, psychologists, and doctors, including Antonio Damasio, Martin Seligman, and Rita Sharon. It's been circulated in mainstream periodicals, from Wired to the Wall Street Journal to Martha Stewart. And this is just the beginning of what story science can do. Because stories are everywhere, and despite what you might have heard, every story is different. There are no archetypal plots or universal characters. Every culture, every individual creates unique narratives with their own special powers. And new powers are being invented by authors every day. which means that we at Ohio State have an extraordinary opportunity to build on our historic and unique investment in researching narrative. First, we have the chance to revitalize the teaching of literature. Over the past 20 years, undergraduate enrollments in literature classes have fallen in the United States by 50%, and the number of undergraduate majors in literature has dropped even more. Less and less students see classes in American novels and African poetry as vital to their future. Senior faculty at Yale and Harvard, Stanford and Berkeley have gloomily declared the field to be in a state of permanent crisis. At Ohio State, we can help end that crisis. We can lead the way in reminding the world why literature has been for thousands of years an educational treasure. We can leverage our strength in folklore, film, creative writing, and other forms of literary narrative to develop classes that boost resilience, entrepreneurship, and happiness. And we can bring those classes to students across the curriculum, from STEM to medicine to business. If this sounds far-fetched, it's something we can do tomorrow. The blueprint is here in a book that Malcolm Gladwell has called mind-blowing and Brené Brown has called life-changing. Second, after we empower our campus, we can empower others. Project Narrative has already partnered with scientists, engineers, medical schools, Silicon Valley, Fortune 50s, and U.S. Special Operations. And with those and future friends, we can help people across this country and abroad tap into the hidden powers of story. We can disrupt the false and destructive narratives put forth by autocratic regimes and predatory corporations. We can invent fresh stories that open new possibilities in politics, engineering, and business. And even that could be just the beginning. Because Ohio State started this narrative. We invented story science. We learned first about its secrets. And now the story of tomorrow can be ours to dream. Thank you.